In the Sundanese Babad, Kota Perak was previously ruled by Aki Tyarm Sang Aki Luhur Mulya or Aki Tyarm. At that time the city was called Pulasari. Aki Tyarm married his daughter, Pahachi Larasati, to Dewawarman. The territory of this kingdom covers all the coasts of the Sunda Strait, namely the coast of Pandeglang, Banten to the east to Agrabantapura, site of Mount Padang, Chanjar also to the Sunda Strait to Krakatau or Apuinusa, Nusa Api, and to the southern coast of Swarnabhumi, Sumatra Island. There is also an assumption that the city of Argyre, which Claudius Ptolemais found in 150 AD, was the city of Perak or Salaknagara. In the Chinese news from the Han dynasty, there is a record of the king Tiao Pian, Tiao as Diwa, Pian as Warman, from the kingdom of Yediao or Java, sending envoys, ambassadors to China in 132 AD. The Minangkabau people admit that they are the descendants of King Iskander Zulkarnain, Alexander the Great, king of Macedonia who lived 354 to 323 BC. He is a very large king in world history. Its history is a history that is full of conquests of the East and West like no other. He wanted to combine Western culture with Eastern culture. In Tombo it is stated that Iskander Zulkarnain has 3 children, namely Maharajo Aleph, Maharajo Depang, and Maharajo Darajo. Maharajo Aleph became king in Bania Ruhun, Roman, Maharajo Depang became king in China, while Maharajo Darajo became king on Pulau Emas, Sumatra. In the past, there were 3 people who ascended to the throne of the kingdom, one named Maharaja Aleph who went to the land of Ruham, Europe, one Maharajo Depang who went to China, and another named Maharajo Darajo who went to the island of Sumatra. A ruler in the land of Ruham, Rum, has a very beautiful daughter. Iskander Zulkarnain married the daughter. With this daughter Iskander had 3 sons, namely Maharaja Aleph, Maharaja Depang, and Maharaja Daraja. After the 3 adults, Iskander has a testament to his 3 sons while pointing as if telling them in that direction they will have to go to continue their power. Maharaja Aleph was appointed towards Ruham, Maharaja Depang in China, Maharaja Daraja to the Golden Island Nusantara. After King Iskander died, his 3 sons left for the area indicated by his father. The King of Kings carried a crown called the Sengahana crown. The Japanese emperor carried a weapon called the Jerpa 7 Disturbs. The Maharaja Aleph carried a weapon called the Karis Sempana Ganja Iris, and 3 Leela. A sepuchik falls to the earth and a tree returns to its origin so it becomes gems and galiga and a sword called Sabalula. Sailing the ark that carried the 3 sons to the east, to the island of Langkapuri. Arriving near the island of Ceylon, the 3 brothers separated, Maharaja Depang continued to China, Maharaja Aleph returned to the land of Ruham, and Maharaja Daraja continued his voyage to the southeast to an island called Alkaibri Java or also known as Golden Island, Andalas or Sumatra now. After sailing for a long time, it was seen that the peak of Mount Merapi was as big as a duck's egg, so the ark was aimed there and anchored near the top of the mountain. As the sea water shrinks they develop there. Perka Island is one of the names of the present name Sumatra Island. This island has changed its name according to the times. It is estimated that this island was once a continent that stretched widely in the southern hemisphere. Due to changes in the movement of the Earth's crust, there were continents that sank to the bottom of the oceans and scattered islands emerged. Perka Island appears intermittently lined up from north to south which is bordered by the sea. At that time the island of Sumatra was like a piece of cloth so that the island was named Perka Island. The island of Sumatra has passed through centuries of history with several name changes, namely, Perka Island, Gold Island, Swarnabhumi, Andalas Island and finally Sumatra Island. Perka Island is located adjacent to the Malacca Peninsula which is bordered by the Malacca Strait in the east and the Indian Ocean to the west as a border with the African continent. Perka Island is close to the Malacca Peninsula, so the area inhabited by humans for the first time is on the east coast of Perka Island because it is easier to reach than the western coast. Lubuk Jambi ancestors are believed to have descended from King Iskander Zulkarnain. 3 sons of Iskander Zulkarnain named Maharaja Aleph, Maharaja Depang and Maharaja Daraja scattered looking for new areas. Maharaja Aleph to Banda Ruham, Maharaja Depang to Bundar China and Maharaja Daraja to Island of Gold, Sumatra. When anchored on Pulau Emas, Maharaja Daraja and his entourage established a kingdom called the Kandi's Kingdom which was located in Bukit Bakar, Bukit Bakau. This area is a green and lush area surrounded by clear rivers. When the Maharaja arrived at the Mangrove Hill, he built a magnificent palace called the Damna Palace. Putra Maharaja Daraja is named Dharmaswara with the title M. Transo Maharaja Daraja, Prince Maharaja Daraja, and another title is Datuk Rajo Tunggal, more familiarly called. Datuk Rajo Tunggal has a great weapon, namely a karis with the head of an eagle head which is still held by Daniel, the title of Datuk Mangkudo Maharajo Darajo. Datuk Rajo Tunggal married a beautiful daughter named Bunda Pertiwi. Bunda Pertiwi siblings with mother blood white. The old white blood mother and the youngest mother earth. After Maharaja Daraja died, Datuk Rajo Singal became king in the kingdom of Kandies. Bunda Dara Puta edited by Datuk Bandaro Hitam. The symbol of the kingdom of Kandies is a pair of red and white botanical flowers. The economic life of the Kandies kingdom is from forest products such as resin, rattan, and swallow nests, and from agricultural products such as gold and silver. The area of the kingdom of Kandies was rich in gold, so Rajo Tunggal ordered to make a gold mine at the foot of Bukit Bakar which was known as the Taita mine, meaning a gold mine that was made based on the king's decree. Until now, this mining legacy is still called the Taita mine. Forest products and agricultural products from Kandies are traded to the Malay Peninsula by the Minister of Trade, DT Bandaro Hitam by wearing a ojung or wooden boat. From Malacca to Kandies brought goods needed by the kingdom and society. Thus the trading relationship between Kandies and Malacca until Kandies reached its peak. The Minister of Commerce of the Kingdom of Kandies who went back and forth to the Malacca Peninsula brought merchandise and married the Malacca people. As the first person to establish a trade relationship with Malacca and leave the story of the Kingdom of Kandies with the Domna Palace to his wife and children in the Malay Peninsula. At this location, things that characterize the hill are found as relics of human civilization. Approximately 2 kilometers before Bukit Bakar was found lined with karst, sea rocks. This stone is thought to be the outer ring fence of the kingdom. Karst stone which is thought to be the outer ring fence of the kingdom. On a hill surrounded by a very clear river, at its peak, karst rocks are found that fill the top of the hill. The karst rocks on the eastern and northern slopes are exposed, while the southern and western slopes are buried. The southeast slope was found like a stone pillar that was thought to have been a former palace tower. On the eastern slope of the upper hill about 1,200 meters from the river was found the mouth of a cave which was thought to be the door of a palace, but this door was already closed inside by stone ruins. The door to the cave is 5 meters high with a room inside as far as 3 meters, and in the cave it looks like there is a large room inside but it is closed. On the slopes of the hill from the south to the west there are 3 levels of terraces, presumably the former ring of water, while the north to east slopes are very steep and look like there is severe erosion. This terrace has an average width of 4 meters, the distance between the river and the first terrace is approximately 200 meters, the first terrace with the second terrace is approximately 400 meters, the second terrace with the third terrace is approximately 500 meters and the slope length is estimated at 1,500 meters. Based on the analysis on this hill map from east to west with a diameter of 3,000 meters, and from north to south with a diameter of 3,000 meters, the difference in elevation between the river and the hilltop is 245 meters. On the southwest slope, at about 800 meters slope height, there are fast-flowing springs. These measurements are based on estimates in the field and measurements on satellite maps. To get the actual size, you need to measure in the field. Seeing the characteristics or character of the location, this location is very similar to the sketch of the kingdom of Atlantis written in Greek mythology, Timus and Critias by Plato, 360 BC. This work of Plato mentions Poseidon carved the mountain where his lover lived into a palace and closed it with 3 round trenches which increased in width, varying from 1 to 3 stadia and separated by rings of earth of comparable size. The Atlanteans then built a bridge to the north from the mountains, creating a route to the rest of the island. They dug a large canal into the sea, and beside the bridge, made a cave into a ring of rock so that ships could pass into the city around the mountains. They made a pier out of the stone wall of the ditch. Every entrance to the city was guarded by gates and towers, and walls surrounded each ring of the city. The walls were erected from red, white and black stones originating from the moat, and covered with brass, tin and orichalcum, bronze or brass. There is a similarity between this mythology and the mythology in Lubuk Jambi. Plato Atlantis Iskander Zulkarnain Kandies. Plato, Greek-born philosopher, who lived 427–347 BC. Plato was one of the students of Socrates, the wise philosopher, who was then poisoned by the tyrannical ruler of Athens in 399 BC. Plato had frequent adventures, including his travels to Egypt. In 387 BC he founded the Academy in Athens, a school of science and philosophy, which later became a model for modern universities. The famous student of the Academy was Aristotle, whose teachings had a great influence on philosophy to this day. With the Academy, many of Plato's works were saved. Most of his written works are in the form of letters and dialogues, the most famous of which is probably Republic. His written work covered subjects ranging from science to the Academy. Much of Plato's work has survived. Most of his written works are in the form of letters and dialogues, the most famous of which is probably Republic. His written works cover subjects ranging from science to happiness, from politics to natural sciences. Two of his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, contain the only original references to the island of Atlantis. How is his relationship with Iskander Zulkarnain? Iskander was the son of the king of Macedonia, Philippus II. When he was 13 years old, King Philip hired the famous Greek philosopher, Aristotle, to be Alexander's personal tutor. In 3 years, Aristotle taught various things and encouraged Iskander to love science, medicine and philosophy. Iskander Zulkarnain a student of Aristotle, and Aristotle a student of Plato. From this relationship it can be assumed that the descendants of Iskander Zulkarnain who arrived in Lubuk Jambi were inspired to build an ideal civilization, state like Atlantis. So they built a Domna palace a replica of Atlantis. One day in 1968, the Bimini Islands around the Atlantic Ocean in the Bahamas Island cluster, the sea is calm and clear like bright glass, translucent to the bottom of the sea. Some of the divers on their way back to the Bimini Islands suddenly screamed in surprise. At the bottom of the sea there is a great road. Several divers simultaneously plunged down. It turned out that there was indeed a large stretch of road composed of giant stones. It is a large road built using rectangular and polygon stones. The size of the stones and the thickness are not the same, but the arrangement is very neat, the contours are brilliant. Is this the way of the post of the kingdom of Atlantis? In the early 70s around the islands of Yasuil in the Atlantic Ocean, a group of researchers had taken a coral core by drilling at a depth of 800 meters on the seabed. According to scientific terms, that place was actually a landmass 12,000 years ago. The conclusions drawn on the basis of scientific technology are much like those described by Plato. However, is here the sinking of the kingdom of Atlantis? There are several records about the efforts of scientists and people in a quest to prove that Atlantis really existed. According to Plato's version of the sinking of the kingdom of Atlantis, approximately 11,150 years ago. Plato has said several times, the state of the kingdom of Atlantis is told from generation to generation. Absolutely not his own invention. Plato even went to Egypt to ask the directions of local famous monks at that time. Plato's teacher, Socrates, when talking about the kingdom of Atlantis also emphasized, because it is real, its value is much stronger than the fabricated story. If everything Plato said was really real, then since 12,000 years ago, humans have created civilization. But where is the kingdom of Atlantis? Since thousands of years ago people have been very interested in this. Until the 20th century, since the 1960s, the Bermuda Sea, which is located in the western part of the Atlantic Ocean, in the Bahamas, and the sea around the Florida Islands, have been discovered successively by a world-shattering miracle. One day in 1968, the Bimini Islands around the Atlantic Ocean in the Bahamas Island cluster, the sea is calm and clear like bright glass, translucent to the bottom of the sea. Some of the divers on their way back to the Bimini Islands suddenly screamed in surprise. At the bottom of the sea there is a great road. Several divers simultaneously plunged down. It turned out that there was indeed a large stretch of road composed of giant stones. It is a large road built using rectangular and polygon stones. The size of the stones and the thickness are not the same, but the arrangement is very neat, the contours are brilliant. Is this the way of the post of the kingdom of Atlantis? In the early 70s around the islands of Yasuil in the Atlantic Ocean, a group of researchers had taken a coral core by drilling at a depth of 800 meters on the seabed. According to scientific terms, that place was actually a landmass 12,000 years ago. The conclusions drawn on the basis of scientific technology are much like those described by Plato. However, is here the sinking of the kingdom of Atlantis?